Is Keldon Johnson on the hottest of the hot seats heading into next season?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey guys, this is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. It's morphin' time.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for KENS 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Halfway through the work week, everybody. A few more days. We got the weekend ahead, but we'll get you through right here on Locked On Spurs. Thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. I'm also a writer for KENS 5 San Antonio. What are we talking about today? Keldon Johnson. With all the players on the roster right now, is this guy, is he on the hottest of the hot seats to produce next season? We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to play a game of buy or sell from Devin Vassell and many other topics. So before we get into all of that, I want to talk about Keldon Johnson. Now, we're going to get into depth with him in just a few minutes, but we're kind of getting lost in the whole Wemby mania. And I get it. It's Wemby mania. Cool. Big time player for the Spurs. But I think we're not really focusing on, it's not just going to be him. It's going to be Keldon. It's going to be Devin. It's going to be Jeremy. It's going to be Trey. It's going to be everybody else on that roster that's going to go to war with Wemby next season. They are much on the spotlight as Wemby is to produce. You know, when you have a player like Wembanyama, and as of right now, he's supposed to be generational. We'll find out in a few short months. You know, he's not going to be able to do it all himself. Again, he's the teenager. And yeah, this team may be young, like Keldon Johnson, but they're still, you know, learning their way. They still have their battles under their belt. They went through just a brutal season of getting clubbed in the head left and right, and they're going to be taking those lessons into the next season. So now it's going to benefit them, but it's also going to benefit Wemby. They're going to have to be there for him. They're going to have to be those soldiers on the front line with Wemby game in and game out. So, yeah, putting Wemby on the spotlight is natural. He is the number one pick. He is your generational player. He is your franchise cornerstone. We get all that. But we're going to need, well, at least this team is going to need a lot of help from Devin, from Keldon, from those guys. They're just as much on the hot seat as Wemby is. This team, in my opinion, was not what their record reflected last year. We know what they were doing, and it worked out. Number one pick. Okay, now it's time for them to shine. Now it's time for them to say, hey, look, we may not be losing a game here and there as we were last season. Let's do it. Let's put it out there on the court. And so I think collectively, this whole team is on the hot seat. Yeah, they are. They definitely are. They have to prove that they were not a 22-win season. They have to prove that they were not just simply tanking, that they are better than their record reflected, and that they're making strides in their personal development for it to come all together. And now with Wemby on board, should make for a formidable team next season, hopefully. But yeah, so good to have Wemby fever, but we should also have Spurs fever in general. But speaking of Keldon Johnson, we're going to get into him right now. Is he on the hottest of the hot seats next season? Let's go and discuss that with our good friend. He is back, everybody. He is Nick Mantis of iHeartRadio. He's always on the hot seat here at Locked On Spurs.
I love it. I love the being on the hot seat. It feels good. It's nice and warm. As if we didn't need any more warmth right here in San Antonio.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, it's always good to be back with you, my friend.
Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Nick__ Mantis right now. Look at that. He's prepping right now. Look at that. He's gearing up. He's limbering up. He's stretching out. He's getting ready to get Keldon on that super hot seat. You're right. Yeah. By the way, it's hot enough in San Antonio. We're just going to crank up the temperature even hotter for Keldon. Hey, Nick. So Keldon is the highest paid Spur on the roster right now. He is the money guy. He is, the veteran or one of the young veterans of the squad. Mm-hmm. And last season, we'll look at his numbers in a while. They weren't horrific. Some of them were career setting. Mm-hmm. But a lot of fans felt that maybe, just maybe, he may have plateaued. I'm not there yet. Mm-mm. How big is the season for him next year to prove that he ain't plateauing, and there's a lot more room for growth.
I think his next season is huge. I think when it comes to not just his ability to grow into this role, to actually be playing for something now, as you were just discussing the possibilities of nothing really. We could look at last season. We could look at kind of a little bit of a lens, just knowing that the perspective was to get Wemby and pretty much nothing else. So now you have this situation where it's like, okay, financially, is there things that they can kind of look at as far as way they want to structure him moving forward? I can get that, but I think it all depends on what, how you can move forward with him on this roster. And still for me right now, I still have him as, the starting shooting forward, as far as, where he could be. I put him over Reggie Bullock and for what he's done for this team. And as far as like what he's capable of doing throughout the next year, where do you have him on your roster, if you will?
I right now have him as the sixth man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a sixth man. I have in my starting unit, I got Wemby, obviously.
Okay.
I got Trey Jones.
Okay.
And in no particular order. Trey Jones. So Wemby, Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan, and Zach Collins.
Gotcha.
So there's going to be an odd man out. And for me, on my roster, that's going to be Keldon as your sixth man. I don't know if you want to do that for your highest paid player.
Sure.
Have him coming off the bench.
Okay.
But something tells me that perhaps he might be better suited in that role. It's tough. I mean, you bring in Wemby, things are going to be shaking around a bit. We're seeing it right now. It's a good problem to have here for the Spurs. Oh, who do I start? Devin Vassell or Sohan or Keldon? No, not that. But I have him on my depth as of right now as the sixth man. I'm probably going to get some flack for that from Spurs fans saying you're throwing your top paid player on the bench.
Right.
But I think that works. But for me, let's look at some of the numbers now.
Sure.
It's not. If you look at it last year, let me pull him up here.
Okay.
It's not. He had a good season, 22 points per game. 2 turnovers a game. That's not bad. Yeah. Almost a steal a game, and about 3 assists. And he shot 45% from the field. But the problem is that he tends to default to that. I'm going to put my head down and just barrel my way to the rim. It's effective. It's working. The numbers don't lie. Career highs in points, for example, but 3-point shooting, 32%. That's a career low last year for him. So for me, I just feel like we're the evolution of the game. We know where it needs to go, Nick, but it hasn't gotten there yet. And that is be a little bit more finesse player. Let's not rely on you getting to the paint as much.
And I don't think he will need to, because now you got that big guy in the paint. Now you have options when it comes to the paint as well, and with Jetty Osman as well. You got options when it comes to the big guys. So I think there's opportunities for if you want to put Wemby and Zach Collins on in that starting five, and you have almost like a Twin Towers type of situation, or if you have say that does that put then Jeremy Sohan on the bench if you wanted to put Keldon in there. What's so interesting with him is the ways in which he was viewed before the draft and then after the draft, because I was kind of intrigued in the way in which you kind of think, okay, if you're going to send him somewhere, well, what would you get back from him? If there was a possibility of even now, I know Detroit was thinking of pulling up the limo and taking us to prom and go dancing a little bit, but, but that didn't work out as far as, more number one picks or more first round picks for them. So now we look at after the draft and what trades are out there. And there's a talk of a possible 3-way trade to get Dame over to Miami finally. Is there possibilities? There was also the possibility when they still had him for, Hamidou Diallo to be an option for a trade. What would you get? What would you want to make sure to send for him? Remember that Allspice commercial where the guy was like, look at your man. Now look back at me. Look at your man. Now look back at me.
Yeah.
Look at the roster right now, and then look around the league. And who would you want for Keldon? I think for me, as far as I think it's okay to have him right now, for the start of the season, because I just go ahead and just see how it plays out right now. Because one of the things that I like to think about is that I don't ever like to go shopping for anything food wise if I'm not hungry. That's done terrible things to my waistline. So when it comes to the Spurs right now, if they're not hungry for somebody like that, why go shopping for anything or move him in any way? Can I possibly see him financially being on? Did he need to restructure some things moving forward? Totally. But when it comes to what he could provide to this roster, we could provide to this group, I think you hold on to him. I think you keep him right where he is, and whether that's in my starting five, whether that's off your bench, whatever it may be, I think he stays here in San Antonio as a good option.
He is Nick Mantis of iHeartRadio. Follow him on Twitter at Nick__Mantis, 2 underscores. When we get back, we're going to continue our chat about Keldon Johnson, if he's on the hottest of the hot seat next season, and more right here on Locked On Spurs.
Hello there.
Hey, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times, you heard that right, 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. It's a lot of money. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Check it out. That's $200 you can spend betting from everything from the money line to the over and under to who you think is going to be the first home run. All on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. I mean, what more can you want? Well, there's no better place to bet on MLB than on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. I go there. I love they're looking at their NBA futures, their projections on the Spurs and Wemby. It's all there. You got to go to FanDuel right now. Sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOnNBA and get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOnNBA. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball.
Hello there.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Nick Mantis of iHeartRadio. He's limbered up. He's stretched out. He's ready to go.
Ready to rock.
Talk about Keldon and the silver and black. So we're talking about Keldon again, and one of the big concerns for me, but again, I get it. Maybe it was because it was the assignment of getting the lottery balls, percentages high.
Right.
But defensively, oh my goodness, he slipped last year. Slipped. I'm looking at some of the numbers right now. He had a defensive rating per 100 possessions of 122.
Ooh,
career worst.
Okay.
Career worst.
I can see it. Yeah.
Defensively, he slipped. And that was one of the biggest gripes with Spurs fans. Mike almost fell. That was one of the biggest Spurs gripes with the Spurs fans last year was defensively. Defensively, he slipped. And I think, again, you don't know that's a byproduct of what they were trying to do. You don't know. And I just want to see if that – hopefully it's not a trend. Because it was holding steady. Again, you look at his first, 3 seasons in the league, okay? In 2019-20, he had a defensive rating per 100 possessions, 113. Next season after that, 114, held steady in 21-22 at 114. And then, boom, 122 defensive rating last year. Okay. Coincides with what they were trying to do. Okay. So I definitely want to keep an eye on that for the next season.
Yeah.
So you mentioned his contract and if you flip him or not. Nick, he is, the big morsel if you want to dangle out there, that big bait to make a deal. And you could net a really good haul if you're Brian Wright with Keldon Johnson. Your thoughts?
I think you could. Yeah, there's options.
Yeah.
There's but at the same time, I get back to what I was mentioning earlier about what would you go? What would you get? If you have a young core, you have a group of guys you brought in, you have some great pickups from this offseason with Jetty Osman and that and with a couple other pieces and stuff, and now you got Payne with the possibility of him moving into that the either being a backup or being the starting point guard, however they want to go with that moving forward. And we'll probably sneak into that until the conversation later in the podcast. But then when it comes to thinking about what you would get or dangling it in front of anybody else,
right?
Whether people would want that, but you got to get something back in return. You can't just kick them to the curb and say thank you for your time here, but get your money out of our house because we have too much of it or we can't pay you. it has to be, there has to be something back. And as of right now, what I'm looking at as far as the free agents that you would really want, I think the Spurs got what they need. I think now they're going to roll the ball out and let's play.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of options when it comes to Champagnie and how you can move forward with him as well. And so, if I'm really interested to see how this group right now can stick together going through training camp and then going into the season, and what this could bring about. Right. You keep on bringing. Do you have maybe some options for dangling him in front of? Who would you dangle him in front of?
I agree with you. Let's see what this team can do next season as currently constructed.
Right.
But if there is that logjam, if there's the not meshing right, and because the Spurs have a lot of players at his position, from him to Sohan to Devin, to Sidi Sissoko, could you flip them? I know there has to be a point where this rebuild has to stop and it turns into just a retooling each and every season. But for intents and purposes, they're still in a rebuild right now. It's not a big capital letter, underlined, bold anymore word. It's just, baby letters.
Yeah, it's a rebuild until it works.
Yeah. So. And part of looking at what could work and getting Wemby the right pieces is trading still. Yes, that's still an option. If I'm trading Keldon, I want an established all-star, a young established all-star.
Who's that?
I got I'm this is just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Like a Jeremy Grant. Who else? I don't know. I don't think Dame will work here just because he's a little,
he's made he wants Miami. He wants South Beach. He wants Miami. Yeah. That's a done deal.
Yeah, that's a done deal. Just you're an established all-star that can help immediately and provide a little bit more facets to a game than Keldon has shown. Now, I like Keldon. Good player, solid, energy, community guy.
Yeah,
hustle. I was in the locker room many times last year, and even when they were at the lowest of the lows and getting beat down left and right, he was the one guy that kept the spirits up in that locker room. With the music and laughing and even messing with us. The media there.
Yeah.
Really good locker room presence. But if you have a chance to move him for an established all-star, kind of a veteran already of the game, I think you do it. I think you might have to do it. And look, it's also eerily similar to how his contract was set up and how DeJounte Murray's and Derek White's contract was set up, and they got flipped. Now, granted, different time, different moment in the Spurs' immediate future. Sure. I know present this chapter of their rebuild, but yeah, I agree. You can see how this looks, and if it ain't working, then he's your big piece to flip. But all in all, I think that, there's going to be a lot of expectations for Keldon to rise, to up his game. Oh, man, do you want to say considerably? Like across the board? Like, give me them. Look, I think the points are going to suffer because of Wemby. That's probably going to go down. Wemby's going to get a lot of touches next year. But can he do the other things? Can he knock down the outside shot? Can his three-point shot get better?
Yeah.
Can he show a little bit of a mid-range game? That's what I'm looking at for Keldon. What about you?
Yeah, I'd say those are great qualities you want to see in anybody in that position. It's a shooting forward because you've got to shoot. You got to get out there and make something happen and put that right. The name of the game is put the ball in the bucket. And so it's as simple as that is. And so it just comes down to like what he can. And I know you bringing up those defensive numbers. I still will go back to the lack of defense. I think was a plan. I think that was part of the game plan was to not have a strong defense like you would see on most pop teams. But then if you move forward into this year, I think now is an opportunity for everybody to show that last year was a designed schedule, was designed mindset around what they were going to do. Okay, now that we got it, now let's move forward and everybody can the brackets or the brakes are off. letting the guys out the cage. Now they're not,
Yeah.
he drops a career high. Oh, for some reason, the next day he needs to sit for a couple of games. That now it's full tilt. And so I'm really excited to see, and I think that there would be a big not just improvement for him, but I think there's going to be strides for him as well as off the court as far as his leadership as well. And so, and I promise you, anybody who's listening to this or watching this, I am not getting checks in the mail from him. This is just my opinion as far as what I can see this team moving forward.
No, I get it. I definitely agree. I like Keldon. I like him as a player. Again, not getting checks from Keldon as well here, but go more to the point, like maybe it was by design. So we saw those defensive rating numbers per 100 possessions. Here's another clue that just maybe it was designed.
Maybe
you look at his win shares over the last few years. Okay. So the 21-22 season, he had a win share of 4.9. So about 5 games he would win you. Okay.
Let me stop you real quick. Just because I'm not sure, what is a win share?
So win share is basically, I'll give you the definition. It's an estimate of the number of wins contributed by a player. In other words, how many more oftentimes than not is he going to win you a game just on his own, just on his abilities. So just the number of wins that it's going to be that a player is going to contribute to the team. Okay. So 21-22 season, he was giving the Spurs about 5 wins just on his ability, his presence, his skill set.
Okay.
So then you fast forward to last season, 22-23 season, it goes down to 1.3.
Ooh, that's a drop and a half. Oh my god.
But it goes to the point, like maybe everybody got the memo and and whatnot. But no, I want to see Keldon stay a Spur for as long as he can.
Yeah.
I think what's going to also benefit him is that he's not the de facto go-to guy or the cornerstone piece. I think that maybe that might alleviate a little bit of pressure or maybe self-inflicted pressure, like to live up to it. The paycheck and everything. We know that this is pretty much Wemby's team now. So we're going to see about how that shift, and I think it's going to help them next season. But one guy who will never tank and get the memo, that's you, Nick. You always bring the heat.
Thanks, man.
On the hot seat. Yeah.
Love
you
that.
Always bring the heat. All right. When we get back, we're going to continue our chat about the silver and black. Play a little game of buy or sell with Nick Mantis from Devin Vassell and a couple of other topics. We'll see if he's going to buy or sell on some silver and black notes. But before we do all that, by the way, before I let you go and take a little break for you, Nick, have you ever been a Mudslingers?
I have not yet, and I apologize to Mudslingers because we follow each other on social media, and I like their stuff, and they like my stuff, and I have not been there yet, and I need to. And so let me say this, a public service announcement. I apologize. I am making my way out there. I will be there soon.
He's going to go out there, and if you haven't gone to Mudslingers, go out there too. All right, Nick, let me give you a little break right now. There you go. Take you off for a while I talk about Mudslingers. So Mudslingers is locally owned, a proud sponsor of Locked On Spurs. So if you need a pick-me-up, if you need to get going, you want to go to Mudslingers right now at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. That's near 281 and 1604. They have your dairy alternatives. They have the Red Bull Infused Lightning Bolt series. Add the strawberry. I'm telling you, add the strawberry. You won't regret it. And they also have their signature coffee, which is called the Mudslinger. A little bit of dark chocolate, a little bit of caramel, a little bit of goodness. It's all good. Go get it. And they have no caffeine options like the OG OJ, which is basically that Orange Julius vibe. You remember back in the day, everybody? Well, it's back only at Mudslingers. They recreated it. It's a big hit. And speaking of hits and Wemby, they have the Alien drink, which is a full can of Red Bull. Hey, Nick, I know you can hear me, right? You can handle a full can of Red Bull, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
See? Right there. See? If Nick can handle it, so can you. It's a full can of Red Bull with red apple, and kiwi. It's phenomenal. It's really, really good. You got to try it. You can find them on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Threads. Pick a platform. They are there. And you can follow them at Mudslinger SATX. Life is too short for a bland coffee. That's going to bring them back Nick Mantis, there we go. He would like the voice, like that voice of God coming down right now on me. During the break right now.
I enjoy a Red Bull from time to time.
We're talking about your silver and black right here on Locked On Spurs. Let's play a little game of buy or sell with Nick Mantis. All right, I got the questions right here, Nick. Let me get them ready for you. Okay. Your first buy or sell question is Devin Vassell will have the biggest leap in development among the entire roster.
Buying it,
huh? Putting that cash down.
Put the whole paycheck on it. Paycheck on it. I think one of the things that we've been so excited to see towards the end of the season is how Vassell was able to come back. And he was one of the guys we all wanted to see him go out there and really do what he can do, because we've been waiting to continue to see that over the last couple of years he's been with the Spurs. I think he goes off this year.
Yeah,
I really do. I have a, as a, starting shooting guard over Malachi. I think he has the ability to really do a lot of different things, not just offensively, but defensively. And I think it's going to be extremely exciting to see him go out there. So I'm fully buying it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm buying it. I'm putting my paycheck in the middle too. I think I think he's just going to come out like gangbusters. He was injured for a good chunk of last season. To me, he is the most, depending on Keldon and Sohan's development. But as of right now, he is the most versatile player you have. He is their best two-way player they have right now.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The length, the speed, youth, hit the three, hit the mid-range shot, go to the rim. And I love that he has that passion. I think that's one thing that's really not talked about enough with Devin. Yeah. He has that passion for the game. When they were getting clubbed left and right last season, or even the season before, he was one of those that would be very vocal during press conferences. Nick, I don't think you were in San Antonio yet by this time.
I wasn't.
He was very there was one press conference where he just kind of did the whole scooch back thing and then leaned back in and was like, "What are we doing here? Why are we just passionate." So I love that out of him. I expect big things for him. And yeah, I think he's probably going to be the one player that's going to have the most, significant leap across the board next season. All right. Your next buy or sell question, I got it right here, is, this is a tasty one.
Oh,
there's only been 4 in the NBA history.
Cuatro.
League hit. That's right. Cuatro. Of a player hitting a quad double. And 2 of them right here in San Antonio, David Robinson and Alvin Robertson. Will Wemby be the next player to hit a quad dub in the league? Buy or sell?
I'm buying that.
Yeah.
I'm buying it only because I think he's going to have a very long career. People have been ripping me who are not from here, who are not excited about him being a Spur. I moved down here, for those who probably have heard, I moved down here from Michigan. And so, a bunch of Pistons fans were absolutely furious with me when I started tweeting out about Wemby getting picked. And, they wanted the lottery and so I have a bunch of friends up there who are still not very pleased with the fact that we get Wemby. But as now, when it comes to the things that can happen in one, player's career, depending on how long it can be, the possibilities of getting a quad dub, or anything happening are astronomical. So I think that, to just limit and say that the possibility of that is it's not, there's no passion. I think the guy got a double in a summer league game, coming off one of the worst games anybody's ever probably seen him play. Right. But he almost got a double in the first game. Yeah. After he went through all the turmoil that we've discussed before about, him coming, to summer league just to get to Vegas. Right. So no, I think a lot of people can look at those summer league games and merely base what just they saw off what I like to call this, just the what have you seen recently, and so it's that recency bias of just like the feeling of just that you probably seen what he was able to do in that first summer league game, but then didn't watch the second one. And I think that a lot of people need to realize this guy's been playing professional ball since he was 15.
Yeah,
he can knows how to bounce back. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I got him penciled in and getting it. You look at that first game out in Vegas. Whenever he said he played horribly, I thought he played decently. Right. But he gave people to column A, column B, column C, column D. I'm not going to be surprised if I look at the stat sheet. It goes, oh, he has double figure scoring, double figure rebounding. You can almost chalk that up as nightly at this point.
Right.
Assists, he's going to command the double, triple team at times. So he's a lot of players going to be open. And rebounds. I mean, blocks.
Yeah.
Or what? I mean, that he did it in the French league.
Yeah.
With double figure blocks from time to time. Now, I'm not going to say it's a daily occurrence in him, but I'm not going to be surprised if he has a stat line like that. Even the second game of the summer league, if I think he would have gotten a triple double in the summer league if they let him play the rest of the Sacramento games or in the Las Vegas games. I think he could have done it. So I have him penciled in sometime during his career to getting that quad dub. It'd be great to have 3 Spurs. Hopefully he does 3 Spurs in NBA history. That'd be awesome. Yeah. And your last buy or sell question is, this you hinted at it earlier. This
good. Yeah.
Campaign will eventually take over the starting point guard spot next season. Or maybe you got him coming out of the gates.
I'm selling it.
Okay.
I'm selling it. I'm selling it because I have never seen Campaign be that guy when it comes to the point guard position. I think you got to have not just I'm not saying Trey Jones fully has that, but I could see his natural ability of playing the point guard position. He's had that his entire career, and I don't think Campaign has always had that because I think he also wants to be a scorer. He's not a true facilitator, and I think when you come to that position, sure, Tony Parker was able to score. I'm not saying any of these guys need to be Tony, but he also was an extremely great facilitator. And I think having a good mix of that, when you got a guy like Trey already who has that ability, and then you get Campaign off the bench, I mean, that's a good option, And I think for him to get acclimated to playing as a Spur, I think there's a possibility, but I don't think he takes it over fully. I think, it's going to be Trey's job until he gets hurt for some reason.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm selling that. I think it's Trey's to lose at this point. The team is fully invested in him. They just recently gave him a nice deal, nice little pay bump.
There you go.
And, that's one less mouth to feed on the offensive end. Not to say Campaign, needs his touches. I don't think so either. But you have somebody, Trey, familiar with the squad, familiar with the teammates, familiar with the pop system. Is the floor general, is a true point guard by definition. Yeah. And, he's a facilitator. I love that assist to turnover ratio is one of the best in the league as far as being low, minimal turnovers, a lot of assists. Right. So I think he is the starting point guard for the Spurs, but matchup depending, in-game depending, it's a close game and making this up. Luka's getting switched out on Trey Jones a lot and Trey Jones is getting eaten alive. I can see something like that. It'll train you got to sit out for the rest of the period or these last crucial minutes. Right. But I mean, barring any injury, knock on wood, I think it's Trey Jones to lose and then Campaign. I mean, who knows? I mean, we didn't even know Campaign will last the entire season with San Antonio. Absolutely. There's that. He could be flipped or waived as we saw last year. Josh Richardson let go at the last minute. So some good questions. I always wonder what it's like to knock down like a quad dub, man. Like, can you imagine just having coming out of a game, even if it's a pickup game, just saying like, I did a quad dub tonight.
We didn't really we knew how many points we had. We never really thought about like, our stats and stuff whenever I was doing pickup games or anything like that.
Yeah. And you didn't. Yeah.
But I would assume that would be just like you just knew I was in the zone. Like I had it. I had everything. Like I was finding guys. I was grabbing boards. I was knocking down shots. Like and then I was also either getting steals or blocks. Yeah. I mean, and I think for his ability to, speaking of Wemby, if we're thinking about the ability that he has, not just his size, you can throw him out there and he'll get 3 blocks. And just in his sleep. Purely because of his size. And I think people are not thinking that he's as quick as he is. And I think he has the ability to get out on people and have a lot more blocks. Yeah. And you saw that in the first game, there was guys trying to take threes and he's jumping out there. Yep. And because he's 7'5" and because of his wingspan, you can try to shoot as high as you possibly can. He's probably going to touch it a little bit. Yeah. It's fascinating to watch.
I remember as a kid, I think it was like in high school, my dad, we joined like this rec league in San Antonio, and I was just some sophomore or junior in high school, and It was a bunch of his friends, like grown men already.
Okay.
And he said, "You want to play?" I go, "Yeah, I'll play." So he signed us up. It was like every other night we've had a game. It was nothing serious. It was just, a pickup game. That's all it was. It was just, but we got to use the gym and the scoreboard and all that good stuff, all that fancy stuff. There's one night I remember where I was on fire. I could not miss from the mid-range. I was knocking things down. Well, mind you, remember, I'm just scrawny little sophomore in high school.
Okay.
So I'm running back on defense, and like the other team, again, a guy, a man, got to be in his 40s at that time. I'm just a teenager, just rams into me, like gets all dirty, like gets all Southside San Antonio rules on the gym and just levels me, right? I pop up, and I remember attempting to push the guy because I was all angry.
Oh, no.
My dad comes flying in, grabs me behind my shirt, throws me on the thing, The other guy come over here, and the last thing I remember was like telling my dad, like, what happened? He's all like, man, they try to simmer you down, but they can't. So the next, my dad and I are on the same team. So after things cool down a bit, timeout, okay, everything, back to normal. My dad purposely give him the ball, keeps on telling me, give him the ball. And now I'm getting hit left and right. My dad goes, all right, you learned a lot tonight. That's all he told me. He goes, you learned. But that was like one of my best basketball memories I had with my dad, and a night I was hot, and a night they try to undercut me and hit me and everything. I grew up fast that night. Yeah, my dad said, you know how to play ball. Now you know how to play ball. Take those lumps, man.
Exactly.
Hey, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. What do you think about Keldon Johnson? Is he on the hot seat? Like, is that San Antonio temperature hot seat right now? Is that 107? Yeah, Nick had to drink water. He had to drink water before it started. That's how hot it is on that hot seat right now. Follow Nick on Twitter at Nick__Mantis. He's with iHeartRadio. What is cooking with iHeart?
We are doing a lot more when it comes to just kind of having a lot on the music side. Things are moving towards the iHeart Music Awards. On the sports side, they've given me a lot of opportunities when it comes to not just the markets that I handle for the central part of the country, like we mentioned before, but there's also the Georgia, Florida, Virginia news networks that have some updates for sports that they've given me opportunities to do that this is the past couple of days. So it's been awesome doing that, and also doing some new stuff for them as well, which has been good. And yeah, things are solid. Things are good over there, and just enjoying it, and really excited to continue doing a lot more when it comes to radio moving forward, which is exciting. So
absolutely. Once again, make sure to follow him on Twitter at Nick__Mantis. And we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day, free and available wherever you get podcasts. You guys are the everydayers. Tomorrow's show, more Wemby. Yeah, can't escape it. Gonna happen.
More Wemby. Why we're talking about Wemby.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I have it right here. I say no. Our guest tomorrow is going to be Mike Jimenez, by the way, everybody. And he brings the zaniness to the show. What are we talking? Oh, yeah. We kind of talked about it. We're going to be talking about if the Spurs are still in a rebuild. So we're going to be talking about that and more right here on Locked On Spurs. But for Nick Mantis, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.